Guys, so I've been on Musically posting a lot of an AU, so I thought I'd read off the prologue. I've not finished with chapter 1 yet. This will probably be really short. In the future, I'll record maybe two to three chapters at a time. I'm only recording the prologue right now. It's called, Deep Breaths. It's a Voltron AU. There will be clans. Just warning you in advance, that's not until later. I want to describe it, but the prologue pretty much gives away a lot of the storyline. Well, not storyline, the background to the storyline. So I'm just going to start. Prologue. Keith's mother was what some people would call a gypsy, but she loved Keith with all her heart. Sadly, love couldn't tie down her wandering soul. When her son was 6 months old, she left, with the promise of goodnight calls and video chats on birthdays and other special occasions. By the age of 5, Keith loved his life. He never was bothered by the fact his mother was always so far away. He loved the fact that on his 5th birthday she visited him. Same with Christmas. Right now, Keith was just happy he and his dad were going out to the beach. Keith loved the beach. He lived in Washington, so they usually went to the ocean. They chose a spot a distance away from everybody else, and the lifeguard, that warm sunny day in early June. They chose a spot that they would regret ever choosing. Keith had been splashing for a while with his dad, but he didn't want to be in the water anymore. He took his little red kickboard and headed towards shore. His dad watched him with his back to the waves. As Keith began to play with his sand toys, a big enough wave came crashing down, knocking over his father. Keith's father was taken by surprise and was knocked out by the wave. It took a moment for Keith to realize he didn't hear his dad's laughs anymore. He turned and saw his dad, his precious daddy, upside down in the water. "Daddy!" Keith screamed. Sadly, he had taken off his floaties and couldn't put them on by himself, so he sobbed as he watched his father, wishing someone was closer to hear him and help his daddy. By the time the lifeguards had heard the child's sobs, the father, now dead, had washed up on shore, and the 5-year-old was cradling his father's head. "Please help Dad! Please help Daddy!" Keith sobbed. Keith swore he wouldn't go back to the beach. But after his mother had been denied custody of her son, due to her homelessness and gypsy-like nature, he had been put in a foster home with a family that loved the beach. Keith was terrified. He didn't last in that family 2 weeks. His next family, it was worse. The foster parents were arrested after caring for Keith for over 2 months while abusing him. Luckily, Keith had been placed with his next family after summer. He loved it there. His neighbors, the Shiraganes, were amazing. He became instantly friends with their son, Takashi, or Shiro as he preferred. Takashi was 12 years old, making him 18. 12 years older, but making him 18, but he loved the kid like a brother. Shiro spent many afternoons babysitting the 6-year-old. That was until they moved. When the Shiraganis moved, they promised to stay in touch, if not just for Keith and Shiro. And Shiro. When summer came rolling around, Keith became a hot mess. He had many panic attacks and even attacked his foster dad after he tried to take him into the ocean. When the Shiraganes heard about it, they began to try to become foster parents, fearing the current foster family would put Keith back into the system. When they called to talk to Keith after being accepted, they were heartbroken to hear that Keith had already been sent back into the system. Shiro spent the next month calling the foster care system every day until finally Keith was with them again. Life was great until next summer. They began to notice how terrified he was. Not to mention the panic attacks he had when they separated from Shiro for too long. Shiro, who Keith had actually begun to call Dad for some reason, was the first to suggest they get an opinion from a doctor. PTSD and separation anxiety. The minimal figured out. The doctor said there could still be more. There was even a chance the boy had a birth defect affecting his speech or autism. The Shiraganes didn't care, though. All they cared about was knowing how to help Keith. The day the test results finally came in, oh my goodness, I wrote this at 11:30 at night, and so I remember what I wrote, but I'm having problems reading it out. The day the test results finally were completely finished was a terrible day. Keith had only been 8 for 2 weeks, and the car accident happened. Shiro had fought for a year to get Keith, but finally, as he held the frail 9-year-old, his son, in his arms, he smiled. "I got you, Keith, I promise. His family will adopt you." The 9-year-old and the 21-year-old were never happier than that day. So, yeah. I was going to say something, but I forgot as I started reading. Oh, yeah, this will be posted on Archive of Our Own, but I don't get my invite until around September 3rd, so I'll have to wait till then to post this, but this will be posted then. See you guys. Bye.